ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So today I'll be telling a story from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this story appears in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. How many cantos are there in Srimad Bhagavatam? 12 cantos. And how many chapters are there in Bhagavad Gita? You don't know? You don't know how many chapters are there in Bhagavad Gita? How many shlokas are there in Bhagavad Gita? 700. So there are 700 shlokas. And there are 18,000 shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and what all subject matter Bhagavad Gita covers? What are the subject matter being covered in Bhagavad Gita? Okay. How many chapters are there in Bhagavad Gita? अभी बताया, मैं सुना नहीं आप? How many chapters are there in Bhagavad Gita? 18. सामने आके बैठिए इधर वो. Okay. Bhagavad Gita have 18 chapters, 700 shlokas. Srimad Bhagavatam have 12 cantos and 18,000 shlokas. Bhagavad Gita covers 5 subject matter: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kal and Karma. Ishvara means the science of God. Jiva means the living entity. Ishwar, Jiva, Prakriti, the nature. Kal means time and Karma. So these 5 subject matters are covered in Bhagavad Gita. What are the 5 subject matter covered in Bhagavad Gita? First is Ishvara means God. Then Jiva. Jiva means the living entity. Then Prakriti means nature. Kala means time factor. And Karma means karma. So these are the 5 subject matters covered in Bhagavad Gita. So just like there are 5 subject matters covered in Bhagavad Gita, there are around 10 subject matters covered in Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, how many subjects are covered? 5. And in Bhagavatam, 10. So what are the 10 subject matters? Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam utya manvantara ishanukatha nirod mukti ashraya. So this verse appears in Bhagavatam. It says that there are 10 subject matters which are being discussed in this entire Srimad Bhagavatam. What are the 10 subject matters? First is Sarga. What are the 10 subject matters? First is Sarga. Sarga means the primary creation, and Visarga means the secondary creation. Have you heard this term before? Primary creation and secondary creation. What is primary creation and what is secondary creation? Try to understand. Say for example, if a carpenter is invited here for some work, say for example you want to make a furniture and you are inviting a carpenter, so you will provide carpenter with some initial ingredients. So this initial ingredients are called the primary creation, and this carpenter with his intelligence, with permutation combination of different ingredients, will make furniture. So that is the secondary creation, visarga. Another example is, we have a cook, he is cooking in the kitchen. So we are providing him with the ingredients. Those ingredients are the primary creation. And then cook will use his intelligence, will make different recipes using the ingredients, and those recipes will be the secondary creation. So Bhagavatam covers the primary creation as well as the secondary creation. So who is the source of primary creation? Who actually gave the ingredients? The Lord. And who uses the ingredients for the secondary creation? Brahma. That means Lord Brahma is not the primary creator. We say Brahma is the creator, but what creation he does? Secondary creation, not the primary creation. So Brahma is just an engineer. He has been provided different ingredients by the Supreme Lord, and not just the ingredients, also the blueprint, the architectural plan, what has to be made. And using his intelligence and inspiration given by the Lord, Brahma does the secondary creation. Now can you understand the difference between primary creation and secondary creation? Okay. Now among Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, the Trinity, it is called the Trinity in the Sanatana Dharma, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. So who is considered to be the Supreme Lord, and why? Why Vishnu is considered to be the Supreme Lord? Why not Brahma or Shiva? Because Lord Vishnu is the primary creator. He is the provider of all ingredients. Okay. Another example, another analogy I would like to put here. That say for example, you are living in a house. So that house is being constructed by the masons and the engineer and the architect, etc. That means they are the creator. But who provides the ingredients and money and the plan? House owner. Okay. Say for example, after 100 years, when this house will become old, or when this apartment will become old, so who will come and break it up? BMC people will come, the government people will come. What they'll do? They'll destroy it using JCB, bulldozer, whatever. So creation is done by the engineers and the masons, and destruction is done by some other agency. But who was the owner of the house? One who was maintaining it, one who was providing the initial ingredients, another one who is actually maintaining the house. He is the owner. So among the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, So Brahma is the secondary creator, Shiva is the destroyer, he is the destroying agency. But who is actually maintaining the universe or the entire cosmos? Vishnu, and therefore is considered to be supreme. Is this analogy understandable? If someone says that all three of them are on equal platform, is it fine or is it not fine? It is not fine. Why it is not fine? Because with this analogy we can understand that they cannot be on equal platform. They have different roles to play. So this Sarga and Visarga are discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam in great details. And then the third subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam is Sthanam. Sthanam means if you need to do some work, you have to have a place, you have to have a situation. You need to situate yourself somewhere and then you can work accordingly. You want to study, so there is a situation called university. You want to take rest, there is a situation called personal room. So all this situation is required, sthanam is required so that you can execute some work. You want to work, you have been provided with an office where you can sit and you can work. Sthanam. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam gives the perfect understanding of the different living entities in different realms within the universe where they are situated. Where is the Swarga Loka? Where is the Bhuloka? Where are the Patal Lokas? What is the situation of different living entities? Where demons live, where demigods live, where humans live, and then what they do, what they dress like, what they eat. So about them, their identity and their work and their situation is being very beautifully narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. So first was Sarga, then Visarga, and then comes Sthan. And then the fourth topic comes, it is called Poshanam. Poshanam means Lord just does not give birth to the living entities, but He also takes care of them. That is called Poshanam. It is not that Lord has created us and then He has also created this entire earth planet for us. We are staying here and He has not just forgotten. He is providing us sunlight, He is providing us moonlight, He is providing us oxygen, He is providing us water. So He is taking care of all our needs. Material needs, the need for the body, as well as the need for the soul. So this is called Poshanam. So this is also discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam very elaborately. And then there is a discussion of Uti. The word is Uti. Uti means different living entities have different inclinations. Certain living entities have demonic inclination, and certain living entities have divine inclinations. So they have their different karmic factors going around. They are entangled in this world by different desires, and according to those desires they are moving ahead, birth after birth, continuing in different bodies according to their desires. So then how these desires are purified and living entities goes to the higher level of consciousness. So all this subject matter are also discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Uti. And then come Manvantara. Manvantara means the time frame. Just like we have milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years. So then 4,32,000 years makes the entire Yuga, Kali Yuga. Double of that makes Dwapar Yuga. Triple of that make Treta Yuga. 4 times of 4,32,000 years, solar years, makes Satyuga. And the combination of these 4 yugas is called one Divya Yuga or Mahayuga. That means 4,32,000 multiplied by 10. So this is the duration of Mahayuga. And around 71 Mahayugas or 71 Divya Yugas makes one Manvantara. And there are 14 Manvantara in a day of Brahma. And then night there is no such. So you can well imagine how much, like what is the duration of Brahma's age. If 4,32,000 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 71 is 1 Manvantara, and multiplied by 14 is just the daytime of Brahma, the 12 hours of Brahma. And similarly Brahma has his own night. And Brahma lived for 100 years. And that's the age of universe. So this is also this is all the part of Srimad Bhagavatam. In one Manvantara is just like a shift. When you go to a factory, you find there are multiple shifts. Day shift, night shift, afternoon shift, evening shift. Machines remain same, everything remains same. But the persons coming and operating those machines, in every shift they are changing. Similarly, in one day of Brahma, there are 14 shifts changing. 14 Manvantara means 14 times shift is changing. In each Manvantara, there are new set of demigods, new Indra, new Saptarishis. So entire set is changing. And at the night of Brahma, there is no creation. There is nothing is going on. So there is no need of any operation. So this is being discussed in Manvantara. And in each Manvantara, the Lord appears in his incarnation, Manvantara incarnation. So these all subject matters are being discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam in greater details. And then come Ishanu Katha. Ishanu Katha means the Lord, his pastimes, and the pastimes of his devotees. Isha Anu Katha. Srimad Bhagavatam just not discusses the pastimes of the Lord, it also discusses the stories of the devotees of the Lord. And specifically, this Ishanu Katha discusses the Surya Vamsha and the Chandra Vamsha dynasties. Within those dynasties, many saintly kings have appeared who have ruled the entire earth planet for many, many years. So their stories and learnings from their stories are being presented. And then come Nirodha, putting full stop to the repetition of birth and death of the living entity. Living entity from time immemorial, birth after birth, millions of births and deaths we have seen. But when we surrender to the Supreme Lord, then there is a full stop. Full stop in this repeated birth and death. Full stop in the material existence, Nirodha. Then comes Mukti, the liberation from material existence. And then come Ashraya. After liberating from material existence and engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord, Ashraya, taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. So these are the subject matters discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam in greater details, in 18,000 verses. So out of all this subject matter, I will narrate one small story from the Poshana. How Lord takes care of his devotees. It's a very interesting story that we all are aware that Lord takes care of his devotees, but there has to be a practical explanation for that. So this particular story appears in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the story goes like this. So Kashyap Muni, you must have heard the name Kashyap. Kashyap ji ka naam suna hai? So Kashyap has many wives. One was Diti, another was Aditi, and many were there. So So as you all are aware, Diti had two sons. What was their name? Diti से आए हैं दैत्य and Aditi से आए आदित्य. So Daitya, the two famous Daityas were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So they were the son of Kashyap Muni and Diti. And the demigods, Adityas, the 12 Adityas, they are the progeny of Aditi. So Lord took an incarnation as the boar incarnation, Varaha, and he killed Hiranyaksha. And he also took incarnation as Narsingha and he killed Hiranyakashipu. So naturally, when the sons are killed, what should be the feeling of mother? How she must be feeling? Very bad. Though they were terrorists, but still, mother's heart is mother's heart. So Aditi thought that actually the Lord is not at fault. It's not that Lord Vishnu, he is at fault. It is this rascal Indra who is actually inducing the Lord to take incarnation and kill my son. That means who was actually the culprit? Indra was the culprit. So what Diti was thinking? Indra was the influencer. He is actually influencing the Lord, and Lord is impartial. Lord has nothing to do with this. But because Indra is actually influencing and motivating the Lord, so Lord has killed my sons. So the culprit is Indra. So therefore, Diti thought that let me beget another child within my womb, and this particular child should be the killer of Indraha. So that was her intention. And with that intention, she approached Kashyap Muni and she started to serve Kashyap Muni very favorably, very lovingly, so much romanticizing. And Kashyap Muni he could not understand that why Diti has enhanced her services, her attitude has changed. Anyway, so Kashyap Muni could not understand. And being pleased by the wonderful service offered by Diti, Kashyap promised, he said that whatever you want, whatever you desire, I'll give you that. Now here's an important lesson. One should not take any decision either when you're too happy or when you're too sad or when you're too angry. Do not take any decision, because the decision are prone to be it will be great like Kashyap Muni will be put into a very uncomfortable situation very shortly. Another example we can see Dhritarashtra, Dashrath. So he became too pleased with Kaikeyi and he gave certain benediction. So being too pleased, being too happy, so do not take any decision when you are too happy or you are too sad or morose, because you are prone to take wrong decisions, because you are not in your equilibrium position. So the similar thing happened with Kashyap. He became too pleased by the wonderful service offered by Diti that he promised that whatever you will desire, I will fulfill. And Diti was actually looking for this particular moment when Kashyap will say like this. So earlier, we need to understand one very important fact. Earlier people like sages, and not just sages, even the general mass, if they have said something, so they must do that. It is, how earlier the marriages were fixed? Simply by the verbal agreement. Another example is how big agreements were signed simply by the verbal agreement. There may be property of thousands and lakhs of rupees, but they'll give one single coin just to fix the so the verbal agreement was the biggest thing earlier. People were so principle oriented that if they've said something, it must be done. So Kashyap Muni, because he has said something that I will fulfill your desire, that means he is now fixed. But then what was the desire? And then Diti revealed her desire. I want a son, I want a child who will be the killer of Indra. And then Kashyap Muni actually, he was surprised and shocked. Now he was completely overtaken by grief. He said, see what a big blunder I have done. I have done a big mistake. It's a blunder. What? I have given my words to Diti that I will fulfill your desire. But what was her desire? To get a child, a genetically designed child with future predictions that he'll be killer of Indraha. Now if Kashyap fulfills the desire of Diti, he's at loss because he is the father of Indra. He has to kill Indra, or he is actually assisting or someone to kill Indra. So either kuan, udhar khai. If he will not fulfill the desire of Diti, what will happen? So promise. So that when you have given some words, you cannot take it again. It's a very heinous situation. So what Kashyap should do? So this particular story is very conclusive. It's very interesting conclusion we need to draw. The conclusion is that when you find certain dead ends, there are times in our life when we find dead end. Dead end means कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या करना है. What will happen? क्या करना है फिर? जब कुछ समझ नहीं आया क्या करो तो क्या करो? जब कुछ समझ नहीं आया क्या करो तो फिर क्या करो? हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. भाई शेर आपके सामने आ जाएगा तो आप क्या करोगे? अब हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, जो करेगा शेर करेगा. So when there are dead ends in life, so what one need to do? Take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And the best way to take shelter is chant His holy name. So Kashyap Muni was now stuck in the dead end. What to do? Could not find out. So he surrendered. My dear Lord, first he lamented on his own situation. He lamented that, see, I was so overtaken by the comfortable situation that was offered by Diti, and in such situation I took this, I gave my words to Diti, and now I am completely caught up and I cannot move on. So my dear Lord, kindly help me. So Lord within the heart actually inspired Kashyap, and what he inspired in such a way that it became a win-win situation for everyone. So Kashyap said, okay, fine, I will fulfill your desire. You will get a child who will be Indraha. Ha means Hanta, killer. He will be Indraha. But you need to do something. If you really want to get a child according to your desire, whatever is your desire, then you need to engage yourself in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So Kashyap said, I am giving you this entire vrata for entire year. For 12 months you need to follow it strictly. Okay? For this entire 12 months you need to follow it very strictly, and then Lord will be pleased and fulfill your desire. So Diti was, of course, she was very motivated. she was looking for this moment. So because she was too envious of Indra that she could do anything just to kill him. So what about this 12 months of staunch brata that she had to take? So she said, okay, tell me what all I need to do. And then Kashyap gave the whole procedure that you follow your devotional principles, this. She said, okay. And Diti was following whatever was instructed by Kashyap Muni. And this is called motivated devotional service. Devotional service should be unmotivated. But even if it is motivated, there is no loss, there is no harm. Akamaha sarva kamova moksha kamodharadi tibrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Akama means you may not have any desire. Sarva kamova, you may have all the desires up to the killing of someone. And moksha kama, even if you have desire of liberation, whatever kamanas are there, you may have kamana, you may not have kamana, you may have desire, you may not have desire. Akama sarva kamava. What one must do? Tibrena bhakti yogena. One must follow the principles of devotional service, but that must be tibrena. What do you mean by tibra? It must be tibra, it must be intense. So why certain people derive some results and certain people do not derive certain results from devotional service? It depends upon their intensity of devotional service. There are people, those who take devotional service very seriously and intensify their devotional service. Take all the measures which is required to intensify devotional service and they progress. But certain people do not progress at all. For years after years, they remain on the same platform. They do not advance. And certain people, they advance. Every 6 months you will find they are on another platform. Why? Because they are intensifying their devotional service. So just devotional service is not sufficient. What is important? Intense devotional service. Tibrena bhakti yogena. It must be tibra. So Diti was performing tibra bhakti, tibrena bhakti yogena. Although she was motivated, sarva kamova, she was so much motivated that her desire was so impure. She was doing devotional service with impure desire to kill someone. But the good thing was, she was doing devotional service. Intense devotional service, tibrena. So she was practicing this devotional service, and you can well imagine what must be the situation of Indra. He was frightened, he was fearful. Why? Because Diti was performing tibrena bhakti yogena with the desire to kill Indra. And Indra was convinced that if she will continue her devotional service in such manner, then she will get her necessary desire fulfilled, and her desire fulfilled means Indra finished. So Indra was looking for some mistake that Diti will do and Indra will be saved. So he was looking for some loophole. Interesting part is, even if there are loopholes in devotional service, still devotional service continues. This is the secret of devotional service. So for example, if there are loopholes, we are trying our best to practice Krishna consciousness, but even if there are certain loopholes, Krishna do not see loopholes. What he sees, even if there are some loopholes, but what Krishna sees, what he sees, the sincere desire, the sincere enthusiasm. But that does not mean we should continue the loophole. If we are aware of the loophole, we should try to rectify it. But even if we are not aware, or even if we are not able to, but still what Krishna catches is our sincere desire, sincere intent. So Indra was looking for certain loophole, but devotional service is amogha. You cannot check it, you cannot stop it. Her desire was sincere. But still, one day what happened? So Diti, because her body has become weak simply because of practicing so intense devotional service. She has given up her eating and sleeping, and she was too doing intense devotional service, so her body became weak. So one day, after taking her prasadam, she forgot to cleanse her mouth and feet. It is recommended in a Vaishnava etiquette books that one must wash his feet also after eating. So we generally wash our mouth and hands, but we forget to wash our feet. So it is recommended that we must wash our feet also. Anyway, so Diti forgot to wash her mouth and feet. So Indra got excited. Now there is a loophole. After the intense devotional service, there is a loophole. Now what I can do is I can somehow check the progress of Diti's vrata. So what Indra did, Indra entered into the womb of Diti. Indra have mystic powers, because Indra is not a living entity like us. Indra have mystic powers. So he entered into the womb of Diti. And what he did, so there he could see the embryo, and Indra has his own vajra, the sharp vajra, and Indra, he cut the embryo with his sharp vajra. So one embryo became 7. And all these 7 embryos, like they were crying. Please don't kill us, please don't kill us. So Indra became even more frightened, because now they are crying, and if somebody will get to know that I am here and I am killing the embryos, so he become even more frightened. So when person is frightened, he become more violent. When one is frightened, he become violent. There are certain religions in this world, they are full of violence. Why? Because their philosophy is become just remain frightened. Daro, Allah se daro, Allah se daro, daro. Because their philosophy is daro, become more violent. Our philosophy is not like that. Our philosophy is daro mat, prem karo. There is a vast difference. So because our philosophy is prem karo, there is no violence. Their philosophy is daro, the violence. When you must have heard last year, there was a case in Hyderabad. Someone did, like there was a gang and they did rape with a girl, and after rape they burned the girl. Now they could have done rape and they could have let her go. Why they burnt? Because they become fearful. So the fear actually incited the violence factor. So Indra becomes so fearful that again already he has cut the embryo into 7 parts. Each part he again put his vajra. So 7 became, each part became 7. So 7 multiplied by 7, 49. So this embryo got cut into 49 pieces. Interestingly, all were living, none died. So this story was narrated by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit. So Parikshit says, how it is possible that Indra, using his sharp-edged vajra, cut the embryo, but embryo survived? How is it possible? Parikshit was asking Shukdev Goswami, how is it possible? Shukdev Goswami said, how it was possible for you to remain, like you were also in the womb of your mother, and Brahmastra came, and how you survived? Just like you survived by the mercy of the Lord protected, similarly, the Lord protected the embryos. So it became 49. And because they were crying, Ruta, so Indra said, don't cry, Maruta. And they becomes Marut. So Marut is the category of demigods. 49 Maruts. Maruta. How they derive their name? Ma means Ma Shucha, Maruta. Karmanye Vadikaraste, Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. So Ma means don't. So Ma Ruta. Ruta means don't cry. Ma Ruda, don't cry. So they become Marudu या Marutas. So Indra with the 49 Marutas now came out, and Diti was surprised. She said, I desired for one child, and here are 49 plus Indra. What are you doing here? And the Sanskrit word that he uses, Tata, my dear child, Indra, my dear son, what are you doing here? Now just see, the tone of Diti has changed. He is saying, my dear son Indra, what are you doing here? Earlier he was enemy. Now he became son, my dear son, what are you doing here? And then she said, I desired for one child, now there are 49. How come? And what are you doing here? Please tell me the entire story. And then they said, my dear mother, from the day you have decided to kill me, मेरी रातों की नींद हराम हो चुकी है. I was just looking for some loopholes. When you'll make certain fault in your vrata, and I'll take that opportunity to kill your embryos. But as you know, I tried it, but they were protected by the Supreme Lord. And Diti, now Diti should have become angry because you came here to kill my embryos. Diti said, actually I was also wrong. I should not have done like this. Life and death is all in Lord's hand. Who are we to kill someone and keep someone? I should not have did my vrata, my devotion service with this intention. I am also feeling very guilty about it. Just see. Can you see the win-win situation? The first win-win situation is Diti's heart changed. Her desires changed. Another win-win situation is Indra got saved. Another win-win situation is Marutgand got saved. And Kashyap Muni got saved. Because Kashyap Muni, in either situation, it was a dead end. But Kashyap Muni got saved. How he got saved? Because Sanskrit Indraha means killer of Indra, at the same time follower of Indra. So this 49 became, they were about to become killer of Indra, but they became follower of Indra. Diti said, my dear Indra, I don't want these Marutganas, these 49 of my children, to stay here in the association of demons. Better you take them to Swarga Loka and keep there with you. If they'll stay here, they'll pollute themselves. You take them there. So it was about, they were about to become Indraha, killer of Indra, but they become Indraha, follower of Indra. So win-win situation, Kashyap got saved, desire of Diti got fulfilled because her desire purified. Marutgand becomes saved, they are now situated in Swarga, they are staying there. 49 Marutas, they are staying there with Indra, comfortable life. Then Indra got saved. So this is the story that how devotional service actually is a win-win situation for everyone. So this is how Lord takes care of his devotee. So when someone finds a dead end, what he must do? He must take shelter of the Supreme Lord. He must take shelter of devotional service. And then it is Lord's duty, Lord will act inconceivably. Achintya, we cannot even understand how Lord will bring a person out of his precarious situation and put him in such a nice situation that it's a win-win situation for everyone. And that is the lesson we derive from this particular story of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Does someone has any question? Any comment? समझ आया? क्या प्रश्न है? कोई प्रश्न नहीं, समझ आ गया? क्या सीखे? तीव्रेण भक्ति जोगेन. अच्छे से मतलब तीव्र, तीव्रेण भक्ति जोगेन. Okay, what lesson you have derived?
कोई सिचुएशन ऐसा आ जाए जब कुछ समझ में नहीं
और जब समझ आ रहा है तब क्या करना है? जब समझ नहीं आ रहा है तो भगवान की शेल्टर लेनी है, जब समझ आ रहा है क्या करना है तो भी शेल्टर लेनी है। जब समझ नहीं आ रहा तो लेनी ही है, लेकिन जब समझ आ रहा है तो भी लेनी है। क्या सीखे? जो वो सीखा वही तुम सीखे।
हैंडल नहीं हो पा रहा है
तो कैसे शेल्टर लिया जाता है? चैंटिंग करके। क्या सीखे आप?
इंटेंशन कुछ भी हो, डिवोशनल सर्विस कभी ब्रेक नहीं होना चाहिए।
इंटेंशन कुछ भी हो, डिवोशनल सर्विस
ब्रेक नहीं होना चाहिए, कंटिन्यूअस।
हाँ, ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि जैसे आई विल गिव वन एग्जांपल, पीपल से क्या भक्ति करो, पहले हृदय शुद्ध करो फिर भक्ति करना, ऐसे लोग बोलते हैं ना। तो ये आंसर सही है? क्यों? पहले ठीक तो हो जाओ फिर हॉस्पिटल जाना, पहले साफ तो हो जाओ फिर नहाना। सही है ये? वे भक्ति क्यों कर रहे हैं? हृदय शुद्ध करने के लिए कर रहे हैं। अच्छा, क्या इम्प्योर हृदय में भगवान के दर्शन हो सकते हैं? इम्प्योर हृदय के साथ हो सकते हैं। प्रमाण दूं? प्रमाण चाहिए? किसी का हृदय इम्प्योर है, क्या उसको भगवान के दर्शन होंगे? If someone's heart is impure, can he have audience of Lord? Can he have realization of the Lord? Yes.
If the Lord wants.
I'll give you the example. Kashyap Muni had one wife was Diti, another was Aditi. Example of Aditi is given in this regard. When the demons captured the Swargaloka, Bali Maharaj and his army, you know who is Bali? Hiranyakashipu's son is Prahlad, Prahlad's son is Birochan, and Birochan's son is Bali. So when Bali captured the entire Swargaloka, the demigod has to run away. They were not having any situation to stay. So their mother, Aditi, was very much distressed that my sons are now, they have now vacated Swarga, and not just vacated, they are staying somewhere in disguise out of fear of the Daityas. So she said, now she performed devotional service with the intention that my children should get back the Swarga and the Daityas should die. Two intentions were there. One was, my children should get back the Swarga, and not just they should get back the Swarga, another was, Daityas should die. Being pleased by the devotional service of whatever your intention may be, but if you are practicing devotional service, Lord becomes favorable. Your intention may be right, wrong, true, false, good, bad, whatever. But if you are practicing devotional service sincerely, then Lord becomes pleased. So Lord appeared before Aditi and he said, the first desire will be fulfilled. That means your children will get back the Swarga. And how? I will become your son as Upendra, as the younger brother of Indra, as Vamana, and I will go and beg the entire kingdom for your children. But your second desire, that Daitya should be killed, that will never be fulfilled. Why? Because the leader of the Daitya, Bali, is my devotee. So it is my duty to protect him as well. So this particular story is giving us understanding, even if someone's heart is impure, but if he is engaging in devotional service, Lord becomes favorable. In fact, by engaging in devotional service, gradually the heart becomes purified. And last, a very important lesson that we can derive from, you must have heard this Samudra Manthan Leela. What was Samudra Manthan Leela? The demigods were on one side and the demons were on the other side, and they were doing Samudra Manthan. And certain articles were good things were coming out. and they were taking. So this Samudra Manthan Leela, it's a very interesting conclusion that one can derive. So for example, the first thing, when it was decided that Samudra Manthan will go on, and the demigods took the Vasuki snake. So demigod took the front side, like means head side of the Vasuki, and the demons were given the tail side. And demons become very angry. Their ego got hurt. हम क्या इतने गए बीते हैं, हम सांप की पूंछ पकड़ेंगे? It was the challenging. This was challenging their ego. हम क्या इतने गए बीते हैं कि सांप की पूंछ पकड़ेंगे? चेंज करो. चेंज किया. भगवान ने पहले ही बोल के रखा था, Lord has already instructed the demigods. Whatever demons will say, just say yes. Okay, fine, no problem. So demigods came on this side now. Now demigods catch hold of the tail, and demons catch hold of the face. Okay, now Samudra Manthan started. Now while Samudra Manthan started, now demigods, because they were catching the tail of the snake, no problem. But because the demons, they were catching the head of the snake, and snake was giving poisonous flames, you can well imagine the situation of demons. So now in the whole context, actually who did the hard work? More laborious work? Demons or demigods? Demons. Hard work was done by demons. If something come up, demons say, we will take. All politics done by demons. In fact, demons tried their best to snatch the nectar. Hard work was done by demon, use of intelligence done by demon, politics done by demons, snatching done by demons, but at the end, who enjoyed the nectar? Why? Because they took shelter of the Lord. The entire conclusion, Shukdev Goswami is presenting his conclusion in this 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where this story appears. He says, time was same for both of them, circumstances were same for both of them, resources were same for both of them. In fact, the demons did the more hard work. They used their more intelligence. They were more smart, apparently. But the end result was favorable to the demigods, not to the demons. Why? The only reason is they took shelter of the Supreme Lord. So what lesson we can derive from here? You may be smart enough, you may be laborious, you may be hardworking, you may be political, you may be anything. Until as you won't take shelter of Krishna, you cannot taste the nectar. Nectar comes to those who may not be very smart as compared to demons. They were very smart. They were not doing any politics. Demons were doing politics. Demigods were not even hard working because the situation was anyway favorable. They were not doing so much hard work as demons were. They were not snatching anything. They were not interested to snatch anything. Only demons were doing. But ultimately the success comes to demigods. The reason is, and the only reason is, they took shelter of the Lord. So intelligent people should take shelter of the Lord. So you may not be very smart in the eyes of the world, but you will be successful. You will get the nectar at the end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we have these wonderful stories and lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore I'll request you, take some time to read the books. Srila Prabhupada has done so much hard work to write these books for us, and we should take advantage of these wonderful literature and learn how to surrender to the Lord, and our life will be full of nectar. हरे कृष्ण। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। बंद कर दो।